When you, Dolores has a
Myself, I think they really.
Saturday night.
All right, it's 5:00. We'll get started with our meeting and have a call to order and pledge of allegiance. Who wants to nominate themselves?
Eric.
Do it.
Eric, and the prayer?
Willie.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Willie did. Willie's got
Thank
it.
you, Mike.
Your
You
name,
spoke up,
hey,
didn't
your
you?
name was
No.
first mentioned.
And seconded.
Yeah.
All right, attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, which art in heaven, we thank you for this day. And we thank you for this opportunity that we as commissioners can come together. And I pray that we will do the right thing to help and move our city forward. Dear Heavenly Father, just pray that you will bless our city as a whole and our country. In the name of Jesus, amen.
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 All right, roll call, please, ma'am.
Bill White,
Here.
Jacqueline Granberry.
Here she is.
Bet she just
I bet
came
they
through.
took her to the door.
school when I left.
We'll go on, we'll come back here. Mike Davis,
Here.
Eric Harvey,
Here.
Willie Alderson,
Here.
Jacqueline Granberry. Here. Our conference.
Is that what it was? I rode by and I saw the parking lot full.
Yeah.
All right,
You
we've
good,
done
Rick?
roll call. Now, new business, resolution 2022-4, approval of a resolution to address the regulatory accounting practice, GASB 62.
So-
And I'm going to stop right there. And Kate would like to say a few words
Right.
before we get started.
Yeah. I just want to let the commission know, if I knew then last week what I know now, we wouldn't have this meeting. There's nothing that we can vote on tonight. We still don't have an answer from USDA. We'll talk about possibly if we don't get an answer from USDA, what do we do? But I just wanted to remind those, Miss Willie and Mr. Eric, you weren't on the commission when this happened, but we did get a great grant for USDA. We did get a great loan for USDA, but it took 3 years to finalize. And so here we are again. They're working very hard. So I don't want to sound. It's nothing personal. They're working very hard to get us grant. But you know, since the bid in December, we've been trying, and the conversation starts with every call saying, "I don't have an answer for you yet," and that's how it happened today at 2:00. So if we appear stressed, worried, chaotic, it's because we're stressed, worried, and it's chaotic. It's been crazy. We'll just kind of, what we wanted to do is walk through tonight these agenda items so that you understand them. And we will continue this meeting and reconvene tomorrow. Notice it's already been given, so we don't have a problem with having a meeting tomorrow. And if we get the word on the funding that's available, we can vote on it, and you've already seen how the math works, because we're going to talk about that tonight. And I think that's the best way to use our time tonight, and just kind of go from there and ask questions as we talk with Matthew. Matthew, do you need any help from Philip or anything getting set up on the
I
screen?
think what I was going to suggest is I've got a presentation that kind of captures everything that's in that spreadsheet. So
Okay.
I was going to suggest let's go through that first, and if you guys feel like we still need to pull the spreadsheet up, we can.
Okay.
But several numbers changed in the last couple of hours.
Correct.
And so that spreadsheet needs a little bit of massaging.
Tweaking. Mm-hmm.
Because of the last minute.
You want me to give these out?
Yeah, sure.
And I want to tell you, I was here yesterday afternoon working with Matthew and the folks from USDA, and I don't even know who all was on the phone. I know USDA was. Matthew was here. Thank you for coming, Matthew. There's a lot of work that's gone on behind the scenes with this. We feel pretty confident, I would say, in one number. Kate, would that be accurate?
It's not in writing. That's
It's
the
not in
problem.
writing, but
Mhm.
but
They all have this.
it is, I just want to thank them for the work that they put into this. It has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with Washington,
So Matthew, has something changed with what you just handed out from what we put in front of them earlier today?
So what's it? I'm not sure
Oh,
what you
interest
guys
rate?
printed, but
We printed what you sent
So I
yesterday.
printed the recommendation award letter doesn't change.
Okay,
That's the
Okay.
same. The engineering agreement amendment also doesn't change. You don't have this, that's
Correct.
the presentation I put
so it's the
together.
best thing to just say, look at this.
Yeah.
So what you have bound like this, look at this, and don't pay attention to what you had in front. There's only one thing that's changed, but just to avoid confusion, just look at this. 'Cause we want to
You want
avoid
me to
confusion.
take the other so we don't get confused?
Yeah. We're not gonna let you look at it.
Let's still even look at it. That way we don't get confused. Because I know Yeah.
I know it's
Oh, that's right. I unhooked
Yeah,
my,
he don't took his apart. He's just like a child.
I was getting ahead of
A
things.
year or two, because
Was.
right now.
No, that's
Like Christmas morning, I was trying to open the
You
president.
need this too, or just that?
That's a good question.
And thank you. I just,
Oh,
I've been wondering if I was doing my husband, but thank you.
We're all
very,
looking.
very much.
I
All
think,
this
Matthew, what
together.
we'll do,
All this
just,
was
do you have an agenda that we're following?
That
We've got extras.
I do not.
way we know we won't get confused.
Rhoda, you have an extra agenda for Matthew?
Well, I got news for you.
The first thing on there is the Gatsby.
He's already.
Maybe we'll start and explain why we're doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, here's some extra agendas.
It's easy to get that one.
Mhm.
Here you go.
Anybody else wants to see them?
There's the
Again,
business.
chaotic.
When you got something to take it up and take it back and take it.
So Mayor and Commissioners, the first item on the agenda is the resolution to address the regulatory accounting practice of GASB 62. And this is something that we talked with our auditors about, because when you spend, I'm going to let Loretta step in because this is not my area of expertise, but when you spend quite a bit of money on anything equipment, you have to depreciate it over the year, and the cost is very expensive to do that. And that makes our numbers of what we have to pay out higher. But there is another way of accounting when we deal with grants where we can not have to depreciate the grant money.
Well, actually, we depreciate it, but what the end result of it is that normally in accounting, when you get the grant money, you record that as revenue right then, when you receive it.
Right.
Okay. Under this alternative regulatory method, we would, that grant money that we receive, we would record it over the life of the asset. In other words, we would spread it out so that as we reported the depreciation, the revenue would be there to offset it, partially offset it. It won't totally offset it, because it will only apply to that portion that's grant. It will not apply to the loan portion, just to the grant only. That being because it's a revenue. So basically what the in accounting terms is called, we're deferring the revenue. We're kicking it down the road in simple terms so that we can match those depreciation expenses with that revenue over time.
When you see Matthew's kind of numbers, you'll see that getting the depreciation down and getting it more in line makes the project financially.
Because in the state of Tennessee, the rates have to be sufficient to cover the depreciation. And this will help in trying to hold those rates down. So that we,
And by rates, he means actual water and sewer rates.
Actual
Yeah.
rate, yeah.
the actual rate that we charge our customers.
I was gonna say, I think it's fair to say, and don't let me step out of line here, but I think it's fair to say that none of this happens if we aren't able to use that mechanism.
Yeah, we have to have this regulatory accounting practice.
The other is, and the way it was explained to me with our auditors, spoke with him at length yesterday on this issue, is that we will have to do it every year that we receive grant money. So in other words, we've already received, and the one that you got before you only applies to the ARPA funds, because we've already received half of it, 720-something thousand of those funds. So that we can go ahead with this resolution and say with those funds that we're going to spread them out instead of reporting them this year.
And then the way you explained it to me is we at the end of the year we only do the grant money we've already received.
Right.
Not that we've applied for, that we've been awarded.
You've
But it has to
actually
be
got
in our pocket. Yeah.
So that will create the necessity of, you will see this over and over and over again as this time progresses, and as this project progresses. It's not something you want to do on small projects. It's just not, it would not be cost effective, but on a large project like this, it would be very much advantageous, and it will make a difference in the rates that we charge the customers. So what we're trying to do is keep that as low as possible. Does that make sense?
I don't mean to be stepping out of line.
You're not. Ask questions.
So going forward, we're hoping not to raise rates.
We've said from the very beginning
I
that's
know
not
we
on the
said
table.
that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
I
still
mean,
there.
the possibility's always there. I can never say
Well,
never,
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
but
Try
This-
not to.
Yeah.
this helps in keeping that down.
And when Matthew gets through some of his
The state
presentation,
doesn't like this.
Yeah.
The state does not, this is not something the state, but this was something the auditor said. He said that we met the criteria that this project and the situation that we're in, and with our back rates already being sewer rates being so high, that he felt that this would be for us would be a very advantageous to the city to
But that's what
go forward.
I think it's just, I mean, it's better for us, our city also, the citizens. I guess them knowing, that our rates are not gonna go up, that it will.
and once
Yeah,
Matthew
once-
gets into his.
I mean, I'm just
let me-
I'm just saying what I feel.
I'm with you, but let Matthew get through his presentation and we'll show you where it's not.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying what I said.
Yeah. And you want to be able to say that and know that you're saying
You're
the right
speaking
the
the
truth.
truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get that.
We don't want to have to come back 2 years down the road and say,
We got to respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we don't want to do that. That's
And you
what-
accounting
that's what the
firms already
purpose of
paying
this
all of
is.
Did anybody have any questions on what she's just described? Corey, do you have any additions or anything?
No,
And
not
again,
only, the resolution that's drafted is only for the ARP fund. That's right.
Correct.
All right.
We just want to explain why we're doing it, because we'll be doing it over and over again.
Okay.
As
with
more
grant
grants
money.
come
Yeah.
through,
And obviously, we're expecting more grants.
that need a longer term AM,
Yeah.
but I'm sorry, amortization, I'm speaking from banking terms.
Yeah.
And again, it does not apply to we'll be borrowing.
No.
Borrowing money does not.
It's only
apply.
grants.
It's only grant funding.
So again, we won't vote on it tonight, but these items are in the order of the process that we need to go through, that would have to pass, as Matthew said, to be able to move on to the next step. So I think we're ready for,
All right, hey, look, here's my question to the commission. Do you want to go ahead and let Matthew make his presentation now? Or would you rather go through each one of these and then allow Matthew to make it?
can I interject? Because I think if we just get to the next one, which is just asking to get more grant money, that's I think a black and white piece of cake, and then have Matthew step in when we get to,
C and D?
yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
So the next one, Resolution 22-5, basically we are asking for more money from USDA, and we're just asking you to say as a commission, it's okay for us to be asking for more grant money. They specifically told us, don't put a dollar amount. Don't say you're asking for 3. Don't say you're asking for 2, just asking for more money. And that's where we are with that. And that's pretty straightforward. Have I missed anything on that? Okay. And then you start getting to the juicy stuff. Mayor, you want to go to the next item?
I'll just approval of bid for wastewater treatment plants and approval of the award contract with Matthew will speak a little bit about. We've got to give them a letter, and that, by the way, expires Saturday. And permission of the mayor, myself, to sign all the contract and necessary documents, which is what we do. And then approval of the engineering contract, which would be through Barge.
Right.
And then Barge is going to take care of a lot of this for us once we get the approval or a number tomorrow. I can tell you Matthew is gonna be scrambling.
So, and we have on here the word contract, but we're actually not approving the
That's an
contract.
understatement. I love it.
We're approving the bid, not the contract, and, which is okay, because it's all part of getting us where we need to be with the whole project.
Floor is yours, Matthew.
All right, well, thank y'all. If y'all don't mind, I'll touch on these other documents. But let's, if everybody can hold the presentation, if
In your
it's
clip.
stapled
Yeah.
in your, sorry, I don't know if I got copies for everybody. But I got 12.
You want to make copies, Keith? You want a copy? Oh, you got one, okay.
So if you'll
You want one, Phil?
flip to the second
Okay.
piece of paper and make sure, I'll wait a second, make sure everybody gets there before I get too far ahead. I just want to give everybody a little background. I'm not sure, I know some folks have been heavily involved, some folks maybe not so much, so just want to make sure everybody understands how we got to the point where we're at. So as I think everybody knows, back in December, early December, we received bids for the treatment plant project. The low bidder was BH Craig Construction with a bid of a little over 13.6 million, which was significantly higher than what we were expecting. We were already expecting it to be higher, but this was even more than that. We can get into the whys of why it ended up that way if you guys would like to. But just going through the rest of this kind of time frame. Right after that, and we saw that we had bids that were significantly higher. Both city staff, USDA, barge, we eventually engaged the contractor. We've all been working ever since then, basically the last 2 months, to come to some sort of resolution. So the approach to address what ultimately was a shortfall in funding is what we were dealing with, was to identify additional funding sources, and we'll go through that in here in just a second. And then also identify any scope items that we could safely remove from the project without jeopardizing the town meeting the requirements with TDEC. So if you guys would flip to the next slide. So to address or to look at the different funding sources that we've discussed ever since the bids came in, the ARPA funds were already mentioned. That amounts to $1.453 million. There were some existing city funds that have been, the city's been putting aside roughly $40,000 a month, you guys are probably aware.
Mm-hmm.
So of that amount that's been set aside, $250,000 would be put towards the project. Some interest had already been paid to USDA previously, so during discussions, elected to go ahead and just leave that with USDA, so that's already been committed, and that was a little over $168,000. So what I've got, these last two items, those are the ones that are kind of in flux right now. This is kind of the worst case based on what USDA has told us, and that is an additional grant. This is beyond what the grant they'd already provided, and we'll get to the kind of fuller picture in just a minute, but another $4 million in grant, and then $3,392,000 in additional loan. And so the sum of all those items will make up that difference that we're seeing with the bids as they came in at. So if you flip to the next slide here. And I won't go into a lot of detail on all these, but these are just the items that we had discussed with the low bidder, BH Craig, to remove from the scope of the project. If there's any questions on these, but again, I don't want to dwell on these items, but I do want to stress again, we did not consider any items that would jeopardize the city meeting TDEC's requirements under the consent order. Sorry, is there any questions on any of these, before I don't want to get too far ahead of, or feel free to interrupt me if I'm going too fast. So flip to the next slide, which is titled Project Costs. This table has all the projects that have been done over the last few years or still being done using both USDA funds and CDBG funds. And you can see here the summation of the construction, the soft cost. There's been some interim financing charges. And then the sum total there at the bottom right-hand corner for all the projects is a little over $20,400,000. So going then to the next slide, which is existing funding sources. So in order to pay for all that was on that previous slide, that 20.4 million, these are the existing funding sources that are already in place. So this includes a grant from USDA, which they had previously awarded the city 2.5 million. An previous loan with USDA, which was a little over 6.8 million. Some city funds that had already been committed to our CDBG project, and then CDBG grants that have already been awarded. So these are already in place. These aren't going to change. This is solid. So you can see there at the bottom right-hand corner, the current situation of money that is currently in place is 10 million, well, a little over 10.5 million. So again, and I'll just jump back real quick, the difference we're trying to make up is what we have cost-wise for all these projects, which is over 20 million, versus what we currently have funding-wise in place, which is just a little over 10.5 billion. So that's the delta we're trying to make up.
That scared me when I was thinking it was 9 million we were trying to do, and that scared me a little bit when I saw the 13.6. So, but that's embedded in that 20 million, and we've already got 10.5,
Right.
and a half million.
That's right.
So we've got to make up the shortfall there.
Yeah. So then going to the next slide, which is titled Shortfall and New Funding Sources. So that's where we have this difference that we're trying to make up. So the 10.16, and this number changed a little bit based on what information I got just a couple hours ago. So we've got the ARPA funds, which we just talked about a minute ago, the city funds that are coming from the bank account, city funds that have already been paid, the scope reduction amount, so all those items that were on that previous slide that we were able to negotiate with the contractor, the sum total of all those was $899,000. So all those items will be removed from the scope of the project, and the credit back will be a little under $900,000. And that leaves the grant we know we have, or we're pretty confident we have, the 4 million, and then the difference is what's left is loan, which is $3,392,000.
And we're hoping of that 3,392,000 that we can make up some of that in grant. And so we don't have that. That's the answers we don't have. Plus a 4 million that we've heard for over a month now is not committed in writing. It's just been verbally said to us that we believe you can get that.
Yeah, I think today we got this afternoon we got an email. I think that's the first time I've seen it in any sort of.
I don't know that I even saw it.
Oh, you didn't see
That's the
it?
one that I was asking about.
Okay.
It says additional funding of 4 million,
Okay.
Mhm.
additional grant of 4 million.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be the first time we've seen it in an email then.
That's right. Yeah. So then the last slide, and I think this is kind of getting back to what we were talking about earlier with the rates. It's monthly financial comparison. So what we did was over the last couple of weeks, we've all been working together to basically compare what was being paid before for that old SRF loan, which is $40,000 a month, and see where this new loan and plus depreciation, which was mentioned earlier, how does that figure into the amount that was being set aside previously, the $40,000 a month? So going down through here, the loan that has already been signed with the USCA, it comes out to $18,851 a month. And that came from Vance. That was a little bit different than
Yeah.
what he had told us previously. And then the depreciation per month, and this is taking into account what we were just talking about a second ago with that resolution, that assuming the grant basically doesn't come into play when.
Because that number's much higher if it does.
Oh, it's probably double
Yes.
or more.
Makes a big difference.
So it's a huge difference. So then depreciation, and then this additional loan, that 3.3 million that was on that previous slide, that's the new loan that would be if we don't get any additional grant. So again, this is all worst case. This is all just based on $4 million in grant. And then if you add those items up, then out of that $40,000, what's left that would be saved per month is $3,823. So the total loan amount per month is $28,214, and the total amount saved, which is depreciation plus that save amount, is $11,787. And again, I know this is different than what we just looked at yesterday, but literally had to change these about 2 hours ago. So I apologize. This may be a little bit of a surprise, but it's a little less than what we were looking at yesterday.
Yeah, it's a little less.
Yeah.
But it's still a savings.
Right.
So the 11,787 would be money that still goes into that account instead of the 40,000.
I call it the capital account, but
Capital account.
it's
Future,
Kind of
as
cash
we
in hand.
discussed yesterday, it's for future growth.
Okay.
Because we know it's coming.
and ongoing
Okay.
maintenance.
Maintenance, because understand, we're not doing all the lines up in the neighborhoods.
Right.
At points in times, and Matthew agreed with me yesterday, when we start digging in to do the downtown revitalization, we don't know what we're going to find.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then when you get in some of these neighborhoods that have been around here forever, and you start having to do repair work.
Mhm.
So, first intuition would be, all right, we'll take that and cut rates. Well, then you're not putting anything back for a rainy day.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it is too, is you cut rates. And I don't want to find this community in the same shape Spring Hill found itself in about 12, 15, 20 years ago, where they did away with the property tax because it was growing so much. And then they had to go back and state it, and you thought they'd burn the world. Literally. So,
Mayor, I wanted to point out for those that were were not on the commission, that $40,000 loan was the old lagoon loan, right, where it fell.
It's an $8 million loan.
Yeah.
and y'all remember we discussed doing that.
Mhm.
And the money actually is going to work out because we talked about it going forward because we knew there would probably be cost overrun.
Right. I remember when we discussed that in that meeting.
And it wounds up being a lot of cost overruns. And so the good news is we're not pulling all that $1 million either, because I'm going to tell y'all yesterday, Matthew and everybody in that room was very, they were nice to me. Let me just put it that way. They didn't cut my head off because we took numbers and moved them from everywhere, didn't we? I mean, I'm going, all right, what if we do all the full $1 million that we got sitting over there now? What if we get this much? What if we just move numbers around? And quite frankly, I think this is the best alternative we've got. We're still putting money back. We're not depleting that fund.
And we can continue to, like the governor's budget that he's got, earmarked for sewer infrastructure. We can apply for that.
Absolutely.
And then we could also apply for additional infrastructure off of that email that I sent you earlier in the week.
Yeah, that we've just got answers back on that today. We're
Off of the
just
root
looking at it.
today.
And then I'm going after the county. I'll be copied on an email tomorrow to get part of their 18 million because they're supposed to be sharing it with the cities as well.
Yeah.
And that would be used for water.
Yeah.
It's just a constant. But I'm going to clarify because you two, we all have the same email. I'm not sure I'm as confident as you two are.
I'm not confident.
Yeah, his email says
There's 4
in a
million in there.
yeah, in a typical request for additional funding, USDA could offer a loan of this dollar amount that Matthew's giving you, the $3,392,000, and an additional grant of $4,000. I'm not sure that's guaranteed million. I'm sorry.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to imply it was guaranteed.
He's put it in an email. That's the first time I've seen it in
was
writing.
actually
Yeah.
written down somewhere.
But
What was
we've always heard that.
yesterday was something certain, and it wasn't fairly, wasn't absolutely either, but it was something pretty strong where he said,
Yeah.
So, and while we're talking about that, Vance Hamilton, who is helping us with this for USDA, was absolutely planning on being at this meeting. And I said, we're not voting on anything. You haven't given us any definite answers. So why don't we plan on you being at tomorrow's meeting? Hopefully you'll have an answer. And I just said there's really no reason for him to come both times.
it wasn't.
So that's where we are. And I'm hoping that the fact that it's in writing helps. That's the next step forward.
Yeah.
So we were always trying to work with Matthew, Loretta and I, as simple as we can make it, is we could afford that $40,000 a month payment. And so we wanted to continue to do that, to build that up. So we didn't want this project to eat up that $40,000 a month because, as we just discussed, we know we're going to have future needs, and building up that fund is only good for us. So we've always looked at it from what's this going to cost us per month, and that's kind of why we're using these numbers. That obviously, the more grant we get, the less it's going to cost us, the more we can set aside, and that's where we're continuing to try to do.
Yeah, you should have seen it yesterday when I asked him to throw that full million in there. It was head spinning like Beetlejuice.
We didn't like that.
They didn't like that at all. Yeah. But that's how in-depth we got with this, just so everybody understands this. That's why I want to compliment again everybody that's been a part of this. I mean, and we're still, everybody knock on wood and pray tonight and do everything you can do. I've made every phone call I can. I even asked the people at USDA yesterday. I said, is there anybody I need to call? But I was very careful with them and said, don't let me call anybody that is going to offend. Because, some people take offense. What are they trying to do?
Yeah.
So even today, Matthew said he didn't feel like there was anybody that, right?
Vance.
Vance, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So basically, that's really all the information we have on that agenda item. What the great unknown is, tomorrow when we reconvene, we don't know if we're voting on finding out there's additional grant money, or if we're looking at exactly what he's presented with the additional loan. And the biggest concern we have is with the deadline of Saturday and losing the bid that we have. The contractor's already told us as of Monday, electrical costs are going up. So
70,000, wasn't it, Matthew?
yeah, it's just a scary situation to be in. I'm hoping when we all reconvene tomorrow, we have some answers there. Vance also said that, we could adopt this with that $3 million in loan, additional $3 million plus in loan, and then we get an answer next week. And so we don't have to use that loan money because we get grant money. I just would like to get it resolved tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't want the city to commit to anything that is going to hurt us in the future. I thought we were really walking into this with $7.3 million that we were hoping for, but I'm hoping we get a real clear answer on the 4, and just kind of go from there. I guess kind of while we're on that subject, we were looking at, I want to run it by each of you, reconvening at 3:30 tomorrow. I wanted to make it as late in the day to give USDA as much time as possible to give us answers, but I know Eric's got some schedule issues.
I've already got a commitment, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to be here.
Can you do it by Zoom?
No.
Matthew's going to Zoom in. He
You gotta-
can't vote by
You gotta
Zoom.
be here.
That's right, you gotta be
He could be there and participate, but he can't vote. Is that something if we moved it, if we moved,
I mean, as long as you got a quorum, that's all that matters anyway.
if we moved it back, could you make it?
Uh-uh.
Okay. And you can't do it any earlier. Well, I'm afraid to do it earlier because of USDA.
Well,
Yeah.
and I mean, my planning period is like 11:30 to 12:30. So if you find out in the morning and you're like, hey, we want to do it, could you do it from 11:30 to 12:30, Mike?
We have to give notice tonight.
I mean, if push comes to shove, you don't have enough people here, call me and I'll just,
What you do is drive right quick. Because
Bring the
Kate and I were
grandkids
talking,
fine,
Bring the grandkids with you.
yeah,
if it
We'll have
comes,
babysitters.
Kate and I
comes to
discussed this today about, all right,
You don't want babysitters with my grandkids.
Kate and I
but
discussed this
it looks
today
like it'll be enough.
about, all right, because Vance brought up, y'all go ahead and approve this tonight, is what she brought up, and I told Kate, I'm not comfortable with that.
No.
This is $20 million, folks.
Yeah.
And I want I don't want anything to come later and say, well, the mayor just, I said,
Well, I got news for you, Mayor. That's what I'm gonna tell you.
Don't talk to the mayor.
Well, Matthew, one of the questions that I've been thinking about is if we don't hear back from USDA and we don't agree to do this, and we wait for those, do you feel like costs are going to come down once interest rates start going back up and the economy kind of gets back into that, the inflation kind of goes away?
It'd be a wild guess.
Costs may go down, interest rates are going to go up.
rates are going up.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't
So it's
think
going off,
costs
you
come
can
down.
never offset it.
Actually, that was one of the changes that happened in the last couple of hours. We had originally been told that the new loan, this additional loan that we're talking about, was going to be at the same interest rate as the previous 1.125. And just found out a couple of hours ago, now it's 1.25. So
It's a big difference over 38 years.
Right.
Yes.
So it's already happening right now.
But,
How does the supply chain hurt it in the, I'm just,
Well, there's some risk dollars that are in the bid.
That's why the bid's so high.
Yeah.
well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, what if the supply chain says, hey, guys, it's gonna be another year before you get this?
Well, once we get these guys under contract, they got to hold
It does,
the price.
okay,
Now,
Yes.
okay, as long as that happens.
that's the reason Saturday morning is so critical.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Before, I thought we was already in a contract. We wasn't, right?
yeah, no, that's why it's so critical, because they have to hold their bid for 60 days, which expires Saturday.
Yes.
So that's why we're up against we're at the 11th hour, or past the 11th hour even maybe, trying to get this in place. So as soon as you folks vote on this, I'm going to send a letter to them saying you have a notice of award. Actually, that's something we may want to check with the USDA. I just thought about that.
What's that?
Matt said he needed to approve everything now. He's only waiting on the minutes from the meeting,
Kiter?
but he I don't know what his schedule is tomorrow, but I need to hear from him so that I can send a letter to the contractor. So now I'm check with them before we set the meeting.
Okay, you mean time-wise? But we have to do it today. We have to set the time for the meeting today because the notice was for today's meeting. So if anybody's watching this on TV, they will know
Right.
when it's set for. There's any other way? There's no other way we can do public notice.
Well, I was just talking to, I think that we should go ahead, this is live, and then we'll go ahead and post that on Facebook like y'all always do, and then post a separate public notice that says the meeting's going to be at reconvened at this time in this place, and then also go ahead and post the resolutions on there too, so we have everything. We can go ahead and send the resolutions and all the information to this person.
And I've made myself available anytime tomorrow to sign whatever documents they need signed. So just,
You're going to camp out on the front porch.
if I have to.
So he can't have the minutes because tomorrow will be a continuation of this meeting and we need that meeting to happen.
I was going to say, I hate to interrupt this with a phone call. Maybe,
Please do though.
I don't know
Please.
that I'll get mad, but let me try.
Vance said he'd be waiting to hear from us.
Okay, let me step out and I'll try to call him.
We do not need a motion to recess and reconvene.
Yes.
Yeah.
They'll need- they'll need
Well,
to
let's
do
just
that.
wait just.
I know, you can't do it yet.
We haven't even gotten to the last item yet. It's gonna be any more
Go
confusing.
home before we did that.
No,
Yeah.
don't worry. No one's letting anyone leave.
We're not letting
No,
anyone out of the
I
building.
bet you Corey won't let us get out the door.
She's parked behind us.
They haven't seen, have you seen the packet? Is there a packet?
No,
Okay.
with these resolutions, no. I mean, we've had them for, what, half an hour?
Now, I've got some resolution.
One,
Yeah, they're in there.
one.
No, I think there's one.
Oh, Teresa did do that in front of you, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Another
So
three,
we'll change.
four.
All the way to
yeah, you have all
22.7.
four,
Yeah.
that's, I forgot she did have time to put that together before she left.
I'm just gonna leave mine right there,
Yeah.
because they'll
Jackie, did
change.
you already take your blue book home, right? Okay, that's what I figured. Good.
I'm just trying to understand.
That, I shouldn't say this out loud, but that means they're working on it.
Well, you knew they asked, they sent us an email.
They just sent the
Terrence,
email.
That's what I'm saying. When Philip came in, he said, they're in there working on it right now, and I said, that's not bad news.
At least it are, that it's not a no. At this point.
And they're working on it.
It's a maybe.
So maybe anything not a no at this point is good news.
That's right. And just while we're waiting on Matthew, there was some, yesterday during the meeting with him, I kept talking about, all right, we know we got some future growth coming. Okay? We now have a betterment fee, so that contractors are gonna be paying a little more. We've gone up on the sewer tap fee to $3,000, which is still very, very competitive. So we know, and with the 150 homes basically that we know are approved, when you start adding all those fees up, we're gonna start being able to put, and then when some more growth comes and we're prepared because of the money that we're gonna be putting aside from the savings on the loan, plus the money that we're putting away and we've got, not spending all of it, and then the fees that are gonna, now, as Kate reiterated, we're not gonna see the monthly fees for 4 to 5 to 6 years on a regular basis, because it's going to take time. They can't go build those homes overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, and then who knows what we might wind up with in Cherry Glen.
In the betterment fees that you're talking about, we're working towards getting that into the ordinance so that the planning commission can be requiring those.
Yes.
That means that if you want to come in and you're going to better our sewer or expand our sewer, you're going to have to do it as a
You're gonna pay
developer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're working towards that. No luck?
I wasn't able to get him. I'm sending him an email right now to see if maybe.
So what is the issue that they have?
The last thing he needs is the minutes from the meeting.
Can he watch it on the Zoom or on
But we
the
would
live?
They've not made any motions.
I know, but
Tomorrow, I mean.
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
He could watch it at 3:30 and see that it happened, and then the minutes would come.
Hey, I can sit here and. type
Immediately
draft
thereafter.
While we're in
Yeah.
it, we need to.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We can just
And the
almost,
video can be sent.
They'll be drafted anyway.
they'll be draft, that's right, because they're going to accept draft. I heard that yesterday. They're going to
But-
accept draft
But still,
minutes.
it's going to take Teresa an hour or so to get those minutes completed.
Well, I was saying that I could sit here and type it while they were in the middle of it.
We got, are you going to be available, Corey, to
Might
be
not
here?
the correct format.
Well, then we could look at it, you and put it together, and then I'll be here to sign it.
You can't sign it, you have to vote on it in February, you can't approve it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll
But
be the next meeting.
but-
They don't expect it to be, they expect it draft,
It's draft,
Yeah.
but there's some other documents that I'm gonna have to sign.
not until after the votes.
I understand after the votes, but there's some documents I've got to sign tomorrow.
If we go that direction, yeah. I mean, it depends on kind of what we hear, but yeah, you will, for sure. That's what
That's
several
why
of these
I'm,
are.
Okay.
I just emailed him, so
Okay.
I said, but y'all need to know tonight. I can try to call him again here shortly. So.
I don't see why it wouldn't work that we couldn't get the minutes to him tomorrow. If they vote.
I guess you're just concerned if they get there at 4:30, is that a problem?
I mean, it shouldn't take him long to look at the minutes and say, yes.
4:30 here is 5:30 DC time.
Well, I think it's, Blade Matt is the one that'll be reviewing, that's in Nashville.
Okay.
And then I assume he's got the letter ready to send back to the city, just ready to go, but that's an assumption.
Okay.
Can we call him?
Right.
Oh, so you tried calling both guys. Okay.
Want to go ahead and move on to the last item on the agenda, and before we adjourn, we'll determine if we've heard from them.
And that's just the engineering contract amendment to
Okay.
wastewater treatment.
So, this amendment is this document right here. And what it boils down to is the original contract that was signed back in 2018 was based on a much different scope than where we are right now. And it was based on a construction time of 1 year. And with this new contract that we're been discussing here, the construction time is a bit longer. It's roughly 6 to 8 months longer. So really the additional the amendment here is basically to cover that additional time. So we have additional inspection time, which USDA requires a full-time inspector on site. So that in order to get the money, we have to have an inspector on site. And then also some additional just construction administrative time for that time period. So that's really, that's all that's in that number. There's also a little bit of additional just to deal with all that's been going on the last month, and that's covered on the additional services. So that's what it boils down to.
And you got to think we're not going to have that payment for 18 months either. A little more money.
We'll continue making the 40,000, but
We're going to continue to make the 40, but there won't be the, we're going to keep making that 40 to a point.
And I think you all realize this, but Loretta brought this up yesterday too, is we can't spend any grant money until we've gone through the loan money. So
That's right.
Yeah, grant money comes last.
The ordering of that is the first thing to be, the way I understand it, and you correct me, you put something different, would be our money, whatever we have agreed to, that 1.4 million.
And the 250.
That will be the first.
Very first.
That'll be paid first, and then they'll pay us the loan. The grant is the very last piece of the puzzle.
And that's where you make sure you use it all. Every
I
dime
don't
of
think
it.
we'll have any problem with that.
I don't think we're going to have that problem.
Well, and that's a good point. We've got some contingency in that table that I showed you guys earlier, and I expect something will pop up. It's an old plant, something will happen.
Something's going to happen.
But if we get towards the end of this project, we feel like our risk is pretty low, if something is going to arise, there's a chance that some of those things we deleted, we'll be able to add back in to the project. So it's not to say that all those items are completely off the table. We may be able to get them in later in the project.
And there was something else you were talking about too yesterday, Matthew, the mats that go into the plant, we're going to have a longer life.
Let me see if this is,
Yeah, please.
hello, this is Matthew.
the membranes.
The membranes that go in there have a longer usable and a much more efficient life now than they used to have.
That's good.
So,
They're able to handle, if I'm mistaken, they're able to handle the water.
Yep.
The original ones were supposed to each bank handle a million, now they might handle 250,000 or $500,000 more, which means it'll be longer before we have to.
you have to upgrade. So, this project not only gets us where we've got to be, because that's what we kept discussing yesterday, is all right, we have an immediate right now, but we need to be looking down the road as well.
Be prepared.
And understanding that those are not given to you, and replacement is not given to you. We're building and getting some more efficiency out of this as well. I believe you got a hold of somebody.
Somebody, I don't know if it's Vance or Matt Kiter, both with USDA. Appreciate your patience on all this. It's just been crazy. And I think Corey just got all the documents today.
You know, nothing like a little pressure.
Yeah.
Nothing like it, is it?
All I got to do is say yay or nay.
But people will remember whether you said yay or nay.
But along those lines too, what we're doing is awarding the bid. The contract will not go to Corey to review for the mayor to sign until next week.
Right.
So
At
We
the
just got to
earliest.
our bid.
Yeah, probably at the earliest.
Yeah.
very big.
Yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
a book.
That's the USDA contract. We don't even have the BH
Contractors.
contract.
Yeah,
Right.
correct.
But so the public notice says contract. We thought that would be available, but
It's
it's
just
not.
bid award.
So that also explains why it's a resolution that you have for the bid award instead of just in the minutes like you usually do. So we're
Mhm.
straying from our normal procedure just a little bit, but for the better, I think. Always better to have it
Yeah.
written.
Mhm.
Well, everybody but Commissioner Davis be here tomorrow at 3:30. You can be here in person. Yes, yes. Miss Granberry? Yes, okay.
And Mike, do you have any other questions or anything?
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready. You got anything at all? Just because you're not gonna be able to attend, unless we have to call and say, "Where are you, dude?"
Well, I mean, like I say, if I have to be here,
Well, let's hope. But I want to make sure you're
but I mean,
comfortable with
but I mean, you may
everything.
have to wait a little while for it.
Well, I understand,
You
but
can
you're
put your
comfortable.
flashes on and tell Mike to come in the house.
So long as there's a quorum, he
Yeah,
could
well,
participate on
But
Zoom
I
and
just
say
wanna make
what
sure.
his vote would be.
Yeah.
Stop you quick.
It just doesn't count. Yeah.
Stop you quick with the flashes on, then they do
That's
it.
just what I was saying earlier about.
They do.
I just like for the city.
Every time I put my flashes on, I get pulled
I
over.
was the
I'm
same
like,
way.
They're not.
you not, me, I'm in a hurry. Just let me
I
take it, let me go.
kept hopping on yesterday. You ain't going up
I mean, if
there.
it was, it was. You know.
I'm trying to get to the hospital, for real, and they want to hold a conversation.
3:30 tomorrow should be fine
Okay.
Okay, good.
For what?
Good.
for the meeting.
Them getting the minutes after that
He
is,
said, he said he's fine getting the minutes by 5 o'clock.
Okay.
okay.
Okay,
Okay.
So I said, well, it'll be early- it'll be a little early.
No, I'll try this, we go
okay.
get Teresa's help.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion that we adjourn. Continue this
adjourn.
meeting
Continue.
until tomorrow afternoon at 3:30
I so moved.
In this building.
in
Same
the
location.
Tom Harden
Yeah.
Room at City Hall.
at City Hall.
Correct.
I so moved.
I so second.
Got a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote on that, please, just so, Corey, just so we're safe, right?
Yep.
Because it's $20 million, folks.
And the purpose of the meeting is this.
It's a
the current
continuation.
Agenda.
Same agenda.
Continue the current agenda.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, Bill White,
Yes.
Jacqueline Granberry,
Yes, ma'am.
Mike Davis,
Yes.
Eric Harvey,
Yes.
Willie Alderson.
Yes.
5-0, vote carries.
Thank you very much. Motion to adjourn. Nope, we're not adjourning.
I'm sorry.
Nope, but we can't leave the building.
You can leave the building.
Hey, can I talk to you real quick?